Things Gary does.
What is this?
Looks like faces.
Looks like a goblet to me.
Looks to me like the sheer power and raw majesty of the universe. I mean, how it depicts it spiraling out of control. Like we humans are almost an affront to the fact that it exists all around us. I mean, why are we here? I mean, why do we even deserve to be immersed in all that splendor when none of us appreciate it? It makes me want to kill everyone around me and possibly myself. Possibly myself, but definitely everyone around me.
Which of these people is insane? The correct answer is all of them. Skeptical? Well, I'll tell you why.
So first, let's define sanity. Sanity is the ability to think and behave in a normal and rational manner. Sound mental health, reasonable and rational behavior. Normal and rational? Reasonable? Rational is based on or in accordance with reason or logic. Normal is conforming to a standard, usual, typical, or expected. Reasonable is having sound judgment, fair and sensible, based on good sense. Well, that all seems very non-committal, Mrs. Dictionary. Who decides what is fair and sensible? Who decides what is reasonable? The president? Your parents? What makes them experts? Who's to say they aren't insane themselves? In some places, eating cockroaches, horses, and tarantulas is common practice, whereas in other places it would seem strange, unusual, insensible, and impractical. Shouldn't something as basic as the concept of reality be a little more finite? I mean, is nothing reliable?
Numbers and logic. Numbers are finite, reliable, and unchanging. Even if you don't like math, it's still true. 2 always equals 2.
Wrong. Many mathematicians around 1900 were trying to prove that same point, that numbers were a reliable, unchanging system that can prove or disprove something definitively. In our terms, trying to prove that sanity was provable. Until a logician by the name of Kurt Gödel became infamous for what is known as his incompleteness theorems. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to get all crazy and start throwing variables and equations at you. If you're really interested, look it up. Essentially what Gödel did was create a formula that claims that is unprovable in any system, the mathematic logic equivalent of this sentence is false. But instead of being just a brain-tickling loop, it essentially dismantled 50 years of math work. He did this by changing the perspective of how numbers are perceived and what they mean and how they relate to one another, and in consequence showed that numbers are just as unreliable as anything else, that it was possible for 2 not to equal 2.
So what does this all mean? If sanity can be defined by lunatics and numbers aren't even reliable, how do you know that you're not insane? How do you know that your experience of reality is valid?
You don't. And that's the beauty of it, because then it no longer matters.
Because if you can't rely on anything else, then your experience of reality is the only thing that's reliably valid. And it is your experience of reality that becomes the definition of sanity. You get to decide what is reasonable, what is rational, and what is acceptable. And insanity then becomes when you are unfaithful to that definition of sanity that you yourself have created. Or insanity when you don't live a sanity that isn't yours, when you live someone else's idea of what sanity is. Some might think all this self-centered thinking is selfish, but really all it is confidence. Faith in yourself and your own experience. However, this is not reasoning to claim that since your experience is valid, that everyone else's experience is invalid, and that therefore everyone is wrong. It's actually quite the opposite.
With the acceptance of your own experience must come the humility and knowledge that each individual's experience is valid and deserves respect. And to live safe, productive lives, people must share experiences and find any common ground they can. Remember these guys? Remember I asked which one of them is insane, not which one was right. It's because they all could be right. One could definitely see faces, one could definitely see a wine glass. There could even be the entire splendor of the universe, depending on your perspective. That being said, my sanity does not necessarily agree with killing everyone, so I may prefer communication in company with either of the former two because our sanities seem more similar, and we may understand one another. I may offer my opinion to the third man, but who am I to tell him he isn't seeing what he's seeing, even if it is extreme?
You see him too, right?
And that's the point. We are all insane. We all experience reality in different ways, and we should respectfully learn and seek new things in other people's realities, while having and maintaining the confidence in our own. Realizing that I and the rest of the world are insane was one of the most transformative realizations I had growing up. It freed me to live more confidently and with a more open mind. It really brought home the idea that I know nothing.
Things done.
It'll all make sense later. Either that or I'm just insane.